series finale, the beginning. So this is of course the final episode of Gotham. It took me forever to actually watch it, considering I was in Japan. But I enjoyed it. It was a decent final episode for the series. It was very weird and kind of interesting because it was, it was a time skip episode after the rest of the series had kind of been done. It was more like an epilogue. So it was interesting to watch. It's like 10 or 5 years later, 10 years later, something like that. I think it was 10 years. It was 10 years later. And so, we get to see the characters as they're older. For the most part, just the adults. We do actually see an older version of Selina, but they technically never show Bruce except for, at the very end of the episode. And that was, of course, that was, the weird thing. I actually knew about that before. I think it was, the day before the episode premiered or something. I had seen an article where they were talking about, using a different actress for Selina. And I was like, oh, man, that's weird. But it also makes sense because it's one thing to have adult characters be 10 years older because everyone just does the wrinkle makeup and stuff like that, but it's totally different when it's of course you're going, at least in the context of the series, I think the characters were technically still supposed to be 12 or 13 or something, and you go from that to 22 and 23. It's okay, well, obviously they are going to look different. I think they chose a great actress for Selina because I was she does, I thought that the actresses did look alike, so I thought that was a wise choice for her character. And like I said, we don't actually get to see Bruce until the very end, and he's in the full-on bat suit. So I was okay, that's kind of cool. We get to see the other characters as they're older, stuff like that. They make Penguin a little bit fatter, so he has the belly, and of course he has the fake eye, and he has they show him with the monocle and stuff. Riddler looked cool. I thought his jacket was even cooler than the ones that he had before because it was he had the question mark suit on. I was okay, that's pretty cool. It definitely looks awesome. So we got to see them in their kind of their final versions and stuff like that. So that was pretty nice. We see the rest of the characters older. Jim officially takes over as commissioner, and he was gonna leave, but instead he ends up stays maybe I'll stick around for a bit, stuff like that. So I was okay, that's pretty cool. Bullock of course stays as well, but it was nice. I thought it was a decent final episode. Nothing super crazy happened. Of course you have the Joker officially appear, which I don't know if he killed him at the end, by the way. When he threw the batarang and it went through his hand and he freaked out. And then the other batarang hit him in the head. And I was I don't know if that knocked him unconscious or if that dude is dead. Because it hit him in the head and he was down for the count. And I was just I don't know. I don't know if he's dead right now. But I'll just assume that he hit him and it knocked him unconscious because Batman doesn't kill unless it's unless it's Batman v Superman where he was murdering everybody, even though it looks super cool. But yeah, it was an okay episode. Nothing, like I said, super crazy happened. There was stuff that wasn't really in it. I read an article where they talk about what they thought as far as the ups and downs of the series. One of their low points was the fact that Nyssa Al Ghul doesn't really show up in this one, which I can kind of see that as a weird thing because it was okay, why why have her in there if you're not going to have a full-on resolution for her character? She makes the escape on the sub, and then that's pretty much it. She doesn't show up here, which I thought was okay, because it was kind of well, it makes sense that she wouldn't really be that big of a deal in the finale, because if she came back, then I feel they would have had to have killed her off, because she's supposed to be, she's one of the Al Ghul characters. So it's either you kill her off, or, you keep her around, and then, within this shared universe, it's Nyssa Al Ghul and Talia Al Ghul, and obviously Ra's is dead. So I think it kind of makes sense, because otherwise it would, I mean, the whole series, the whole point of it is to change origins around, so it wouldn't really make much of a difference. But if they did kill off Nyssa, then considering the way they made her, where it seemed she would be older, Talia would be the younger sister in this case, which Nyssa is normally the younger sister. But Talia would be the younger sister in this, Batman universe, and that would allow for her to grow up and still at some point end up with Bruce, and they end up having a kid and stuff like that. Which I don't know how in the world that would play out, considering that he killed Ra's, but I think he does it in the comics too, so it doesn't really make a difference. So it's kind of I kind of see why they wouldn't put her in there, because it would be hard to do the Joker stuff with her coming back, but I feel they easily could have done it, because really nothing else does happen in this episode. It was just this little mystery of what's going on, who's this person pulling the strings, and of course it ends up being the Joker, and he was faking it the whole time, where he's a vegetable and stuff. So it was okay, I felt they could have done it if they wanted to, if they really wanted to throw it in, because like I said, really nothing else actually happens. It's just Jeremiah pulling the strings in the background. But at the same time, I was yeah, I guess it doesn't really matter whether or not there's a real resolution to her character. She took off, and and like I said, it could have worked that just like with Jeremiah, it could have been like she came back because it was like, oh, he's gonna be in Gotham again, and it makes sense that she wouldn't attack it until he was there because her whole thing was like, I want to kill Barbara Keene as well as Bruce Wayne. So it would have made sense if she also came back at the same time, but maybe it was just like they thought that would be like a little bit too much to put into one episode. I think they could have easily done it, especially with the Jeremiah thing being behind the scenes. Her stuff could have been more up front, and so those could have been the two storylines. And I think they easily could have played out well together. But I don't know. It was kind of the thing where I was just like, when I was watching the episode, it literally didn't even occur to me that she wasn't in it. Like, oh yeah, she was in the last episode, and it's the time skip, and she doesn't pop up. And so it didn't even occur to me until I read that article. Like, oh yeah, she wasn't there. But like I said, I couldn't even remember when I did my last review. I couldn't even remember if she actually lived or died, and it seemed like that's how irrelevant she kind of was. But that was kind of just a personal thing. So I was just like, whatever, no big deal for me personally. Other than that, they mentioned one of their downs was the Selena, Kyle, and Bruce thing where they don't really have much of an interaction. I actually thought that worked well. I thought it made sense that they wouldn't have a huge emotional interaction. Like, it was somewhat emotional, but for me, I thought it made sense. Like, it kind of worked for the character that, Catwoman truly is, where she's kind of standoffish, and that's how she always was. And then, of course, you have this big 10-year time gap. I feel like it makes even more sense that she would be standoffish from it. It would kind of be like when they first met, compared to how they were so close. And then you have, 10 years. I feel like it made perfect sense that they wouldn't have such an emotional scene anymore, where it was definitely emotional. Like, she was certainly emotional, but it was just like, this back and forth between them, and they don't have, the connection is so distant that they don't even actually look at each other, which I think had a lot more to do with the fact that they didn't have, they didn't want to switch actors for both of the characters, which I don't believe they did. I believe that was David at the end. I wish I could remember how to pronounce his last name. But I do believe that was him at the end of the episode, but I'm not 100% sure. But it looked like it was him. And, it's easy to do that with the makeup, but if he was, like, talking and stuff, they would have had to do, the voice modulation and all that on his character. While they were actually showing him, it would probably make it a little bit harder to be like, oh yeah, he looks older, even if he was in the makeup and stuff. And plus, they were saving it for the end. Like, that would have been another thing. They would have revealed it early compared to saving that glimpse of him in the full bat suit at the end. They would have revealed it, like, halfway through the episode. So that also makes sense why they wouldn't have the characters look at each other, because, they would have just, it still would have just been on Selena anyway. It would have just been showing her face looking at him. So it would have made it even weirder if she was looking at him, but we never saw him. So it makes sense that she never even turns around to see him, herself. I thought that made, more sense visually. So I was fine with it. I thought it made perfect sense that they would have that, like, an emotional moment, but it was also distant. Like, he's just like, like, his ending was return the diamond, and then he takes off. And, then that leads into Catwoman, where she, like, as if, or whatever she said. And I was like, okay, I think that works. I like that. Like I said, the stuff they did with Penguin and Riddler was good. Definitely funny, like them getting jumped and stuff like that. I thought that was actually pretty funny. But all in all, I thought it was a good finale for the series. Had some decent, crazy stuff going on. Joker showing up, and they go to Ace Chemicals, and he's gonna drop Jim's daughter in the vat and stuff like that. And then Bruce comes in and saves him. Like I said, hits him through the hand, seemingly straight up murders the dude. Like, he hits him in the head, and he's down for the count. But like I said, we'll just say he got hit really hard, and he passed out from a blade to his skull. But I like the episode. I thought it was a good ending. It's bittersweet. Any series finale is bittersweet, but I thought they did a good job with it. I like the way it ended. I like the finality of the characters and stuff like that. And I just like the way they kind of ended it, and the conclusion leading into, basically, Batman Year One. So I thought it was a good job. I thought it was a good series finale. Really enjoyed the series as a whole. It's one of the shows that I think just really picked up season after season. I mentioned this a million times, but, season one I enjoyed. But after that, I thought season 2 was just amazing, and it just got better and better. The one thing I would say that I wish was in there was, like, Ivy. I wish Poison Ivy was in there somewhere, because I felt like, like, they had her in this season, and then she had, like, zero resolution. Like, she showed up, and then she gave Bruce, like, the thing out of the ground or whatever, and then she was gone 100%. And I was like, man, that felt weird to me, that she didn't show up at all, like, whether it was in the past or in, I guess in the present or after the time skip. So that would be, like, the only thing where I was like, oh, I kind of wish they had more of a resolution for her character, because she was, like, this whole witch, and, like, it was this whole little thing. And, she's still a villain and stuff. And it wouldn't have to be, like, in this final episode, but just in general, I was surprised that was really her ending, where it was just, like, she doesn't kill Bruce and Bruce doesn't kill her. And then that was pretty much it. She helped him, and then she was just like absent from the rest of the season, thusly rest of the series. So that's like the one thing I kind of wish that they did for the season. But other than that, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a good final season. I like how everything was handled. Just the pure insanity of Gotham being like its own shut off city. I thought they did a great job with that. As a lot of people referenced, it was very Dark Knight Rises with some of the stuff that they did with the city being cut off. Bane, of course, shows up at the end. Actually everything they did really, because it was Bane, and then it was I think it was Talia in the movie, but of course they did Nyssa for this one. So it really was very Dark Knight Rises-esque, with the way they handled it all. But I thought it was well done. I thought it was good. I thought it was a good final season. I thought they did a good final episode. So it sucks to see the series end, and I would love to see how they would continue it. Like if the writers did take the show going forward, and it was like, yeah, we're gonna make it keep going into Batman. I would love to see what they would do with that. It would be weird to see because they would have to, they would have to have different actors for Selena and Bruce, which would be unfortunate. But I would love to see that. I'm just curious, what would they come up with for all those characters? Like, we had Harvey Dent, but he never became Two-Face and stuff, which I saw in another article. They just felt like it was kind of hard to mix it in with everything they were doing. So that's why he technically never has much after, like, I feel like he hasn't shown up since, like, season 3, maybe. So I think he was absent for, like, the last 2 seasons, so it was kind of like, you forget about him. But, that's one of the things where it was like, it's too bad he didn't have more to do. Even if he never became Two-Face, even as Harvey Dent, he really didn't have that much to actually do. But I would love to see what they would do if they ever continued that. I doubt it would happen, but some shows get like comic books, and it would make sense of all shows to get a comic book. Gotham, gets its own comic series, and then they keep it going. I doubt that'll ever happen, but I would be really curious to see what they did with these versions of the characters, how they would grow up, how they would adapt these new versions and the positions that they have within this version of the Batman mythos. So I would love to see that happen. Sadly, I don't think it will, but it's just cool to kind of think like, how would it work out? How would they change things around? Stuff like that. But all in all, definitely enjoyed the final episode of the series. Of course, would love to know what you guys thought about it, so please put your comments down in the comment section below. Let me know your favorite parts about it, least favorite parts. What do you wish they put in the finale? What do you wish they maybe took out of the finale? Would you want to see a continuation, whether it was in live action or if it was done as a comic? What this version of the Batman universe would be like? Personally, that's always cool to me. What if stories are always like some of the most entertaining. Alternate universes, stuff like that is always just really, really fun. So I would like to see it just for pure curiosity, like what stories would someone come up with for this version of Batman. But all in all, I think they did a good job with it. Like I said, definitely want to know what you guys thought about the finale. We'd love to know your favorite episodes from the series, favorite season of the series. It's hard to say because I don't remember everything, but I probably would go with like either maybe season 2, possibly season 3. Like, it's hard to remember like specific stuff. I just remember season 2 being such an improvement upon season 1 that I loved it a bunch, and it was just genuinely entertaining. So it's hard for me to say because I don't think any of the other seasons had that big of a leap. I think they just progressively got better, but I think season 1 to season 2 was like a huge leap and like an insane improvement for the series overall. So it's hard for me to pick any other season because none of the other ones I felt were like a huge leap above the last season. I just thought they naturally got better, but 2 was like 2 times as good as the first season. And I think the other ones, it was like, you get like 100% better from season 1 to season 2. And after that, it was probably like an extra 25% going per season. So each one technically got better, but it was never like, holy crap, that's a huge leap, a huge improvement over the previous season. But love the show as a whole. Would love to know what you guys thought. Favorite moments from the entire series, least favorite moments from the entire series. So please put your comments down in the comment section below. And of course, thanks for watching.